Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of our video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
And I'm Trish.
And Trish waited a hot second for Bernard, who's still not here this week. So today we will be continuing our coverage of The Devil, Episode 1, playing until we complete the first day of trial. But before we get started, how was your week?
Great question. How was my week? I miss my girlfriend. That's how my fucking week is. My girlfriend was here, and it was so good, and it literally feels like the house is more empty now.
Yeah,
I miss
it'd be
her.
like
Why does she
that.
have to live in like in the Indiana region? Like, that's so far away.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain that Indianapolis doesn't actually exist, and it's a lie that they made up just to make Trish sad.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Anything else happen or just
No, let's see. What else have I been doing? I found and finally got working a Fire Emblem Awakening randomizer. It randomizes a few things, the funniest of which is it randomizes which order characters appear.
that's fun.
So you get a random assortment of starting characters and like other characters take different roles in the story. You can make it so it's a complete replacement, like in all story scenes. Like if, for example, Muriel, the boring mage woman, is now your Crom, then she is Crom for every story scene.
That's beautiful.
And it happens with every character. I did not go with that. I
Uh-huh.
decided to keep everyone in cutscenes so there's normal stuff because I don't want to deal with that. You can even do that with supports. Like, they fully take each other's place for supports, which is ridiculous.
That's so funny.
But I didn't do that. And so the funniest thing is I started out, one of my starting units was a Versa, the DLC evil lady character, the evil
Nice.
Pegasus Knight lady, who's a spot, not DLC, she's a spot pass character that you get at
Uh-huh.
the end of the game. And I got to start with her at advanced class level 20
Nice.
with Gale Force. And so she's gonna marry my Robin, and they're gonna be a horrific power duo. Their actually supports are pretty cute. I do like them. Because of course I'm
Nice.
still playing with the Gay Awakening mod.
Of course you
But
would.
yeah, it's fun to just have a weird fun experience and watch characters show up at complete fucking random. What else? I've just been really fucking tired.
Yeah.
I'm starting to have that feeling because it's like last weekend I had a 3-day weekend because Memorial Day,
Uh-huh.
and that was nice, especially because it was while my GF was visiting, and it could be like cool. I get an
Your
extra
guardian
day
force.
without having to work. My guardian force. And that was cool, but also the whole situation was made like, I'm trying to think of a way to phrase it. Like it really made me feel like in the week afterwards, like the week felt longer, even though it was a
Mhm.
4-day week. And I felt so fucking exhausted for so much of it. Part of that might be I'm currently off my antidepressant
Mhm.
because I ran out of refills and I'd have to go talk to my doctor's office to get more, and that's hard to do.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not even on a real antidepressant. I'm on like one of those weird ones that everyone's like, oh, that doesn't do anything basically.
Yeah.
But I do still feel like my energy is kind of flagging a bit off of it. It feels like over the course of a work week, I lose more energy than I regain over a weekend. And
Yeah.
I'm just like constantly in an energy debt, and I hate it.
Yeah. It'd be like that.
It'd be like that.
Especially because your job needs to unionize so y'all can have better time off.
That would be so great. I did reach out a while ago to a union rep and but then came clear it was like, oh, because I'm the one reaching out to a union rep, I'm expected to be the one who like convinces everyone else at work to unionize. And
Yeah.
I'm the worst person for that.
Yeah.
I can't talk to my coworkers about that. Are you joking?
All you got to do is find one person to talk to, and then you make it their problem.
I see.
It's delegation. It's a leadership skill.
I don't have those.
Oh, yeah.
I made it my life goal to never be a leader in any way, shape, or form. That's half of a joke, but it's mostly not a joke. I don't want to supervise or manage anything ever.
Okay, well, this is my time to tell you that me and Bernard are quitting the podcast. You now have to be the leader of the podcast.
Well, looks like RPG Book Club's over.
Wow, I can't believe you just ruined our patrons' lives. How dare you? They're paying for this. You have to keep it going.
Stop speaking out my nightmare.
Speaking of nightmares, so Scarlett got her ears pierced for her birthday in December, and my partner was at the local queer craft fair, and there was a person that was selling upcycled toy jewelry, and they had Lego stud flowers like for an earring, and they were super duper cute. And so my partner got them for Scar to wear whenever it was time to switch earrings. And so here we are, like almost 6 months later, and Scarlett was like, "Oh, I'm ready to switch my earrings." And so a couple weeks ago, we had a little bit of a nightmare getting them off of her because they were the ones they put on like at the piercing shop. You have to like yank the backs off so that they stay on. And so getting them to yank off was kind of an ordeal, but we put in the new ones. It was super cute. Scarlett was so excited, and they're made out of nickel, and Scarlett is allergic to nickel. And
No.
she then also, with all this going on, she ate shit on her scooter at her mom's house, and then ate shit walking home from the laundromat today. So
Oh,
she is just going through it, man. So thoughts and prayers to my little girl. She deserves it.
honestly, you're that sounds like your daughter's having a me week.
Yeah, she's taken after her aunt Trish right now. But yeah, so she's going through it, but that was most everything that happened in my week. Oh, I no, it's not. I did Pathfinder last night. I totally forgot. Scarlett's just in the room with me, so I'm obviously thinking about her because she's right here, and I'm looking at her. We're like making contact and I love you hand signs and shit like that. But
Oh.
so last night we did a heist in Pathfinder. It finally happened, and moving to in person was a hoot, and everyone loved it. And so we're definitely going to do that from now on. I just got to get my GM flow down now that I'm not doing everything inside of the virtual tabletop. I gotta organize myself a little better, but for the most part, everyone loved it. We started kind of late because Andy had to work late, so I didn't get to do this running joke that I had. So now I'm going to give it for free to any DMs listening. So one of the paper minis that we got when we were doing it is just literally three kobolds sitting on each other's shoulders with a big mage cloak over them. So it's three kobolds in a trench coat, and it's very, very funny. And so the joke was going to be that every time they go into one of the social situations, they see this three kobolds in a trench coat, and I make them do a perception check, and then they have to only get a natural 20 to notice that it's three kobolds in a trench coat. Otherwise, they just think it's a normal guy, making the players know something that the characters don't in a funny way. It's going to be very, very great. But Summer got a fucking nat 20 first time she fucking met the guy, so the joke didn't land.
Oh.
And then we took out the second floor of the three floor building, so they didn't do any of those other encounters where there were a bunch of offices for them to go into and like hangout areas where the kobolds would show back up. And so the one chance for the joke didn't work because Summer she got like five nat 20s, two of them back to back last night. So she kicked ass, but it was a whole heck of a hoot.
That's incredible. You also remind me. I played D&D this week,
Yeah.
which was the first time we'd played in like 3 weeks because we had a cancellation come up 2 weeks in a row that we are just unavoidable things. And then the week before last, I made the mistake, be like, oh, we play Wednesday nights. So when am I gonna schedule these plane tickets for
Hmm.
my girlfriend to come visit who's in this game? Oh, I know. How about in the afternoon/evening, which means that we won't be able to play those days.
Yeah.
But I was working when she was taken to the airport this last Wednesday, and I reached out. I was like, "Hey, we haven't done game in a bit. We're just doing dungeon crawl sort of stuff right now. Would you be okay if we like ran your character for you?" And she was okay with that, so we did. And it was like a short, like hour, 20-minute session of just one fight, basically. But
Yeah.
it was fun because my character, Ursa, who I love her. I need this game to be more regular so I could play her more often because I have a lot of fun with her. Uh,
Mhm.
but she has a -3 wisdom mod,
Oh, wow.
which has not. This is an all spellcaster party in which basically no one has a good wisdom modifier.
Wonderful. A lot of nerds,
And
no street smarts.
yeah, and I got well, my girl. She's a bit smart, but she's a warlock.
Okay.
She got hit with a confusion spell, which led to her Winnie the Poohing herself into a hole too small for her. So she was just halfway, like on the one side of a wall, ass out, other side just like her head and arms. She's a big girl,
Mm,
and it was just very funny. I
that's
spent most of
very,
the
very
fight,
good.
like I failed that check like 3 times, so I spent most of this fight doing fuck all, and then I got cured of it, got out of the wall, brought out my short bow, and got the finishing blow, which I feel like is so annoying.
Yeah, that that reminds me of so last night, because it's a heist, and in heist movies they don't go up to each guard and have like 45 seconds of a fight scene. They go up to the guards and they smack them in the back of the head, and then they keep
Yeah.
going or whatever, right? So I made all of the mooks except for there was one that I wanted to force to be a combat encounter with the one of the people who was there in it was is kind of just a crazy person. He's basically in the Dark Brotherhood, and so he was like, "Oh, we're just there won't be any witnesses if we kill everybody." And our the party was like, "No, no, 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 don't do that." But so I wanted to instigate that through line with the forced combat at the very beginning. But the rest of them were all level -1s, and my party's level 3. And in Pathfinder, you get a crit if you have 10 above the difficulty class, as well as getting a nat 20. And so somebody who is 4 levels lower than you should be critting like crazy, and you should easily be taking these guys out in one hit. Except Andy, the fucking barbarian, the one who has a plus fucking 9 in his attack modifier, just could not roll above 10 on the dice. So he was making hits, but they were always doing like 2 damage. And so every single one of these, we would get through an entire round of combat when I was like, this was really just to be like, how does this play out? It's the only reason we rolled initiative. This wasn't
Yeah.
supposed to be a whole last round of combat. But like at one point, Summer had one of the guys Metal Gear Solid style around the neck with a knife on him, and he I don't even remember what he did, but he was the guy that was trying to kill everybody. And so Summer was like, fucking cut that out, I'm gonna slice your throat. So had to slice his throat, so she rolled her attack roll and rolled minimum damage 3 times, and he
Oh,
survived.
we were rolling like horrible too. I rolled almost every attack I made, or both for me and for my girlfriend's character I was playing as. I was rolling minimum damage constantly, and I was like it was just truly just this day of like, wow, the dice just hate us.
Yeah, it was obnoxious. But how the heist went down is there was this party at this person's house who has a big like concert venue in the middle of their house. And so it was
Hmm.
like the vibe was like a punk festival, if you've ever been, where like someone's playing inside, but like mostly everyone's there to hang out, and you go and you watch a little bit, you come out and you hang. That was the vibe. And so last session the bard got a nat 20 on a performance check at the bard college. So this week the bard college invited them to play at this party, and so the bard was going to be in the concert. Then my partner Cass, their character was going to go and schmooze in the bar. And then you had Summer's character is our ranger, closest thing we have to a rogue, and she was going to go and sneak. And then Ghostface the barbarian was like going in with the servant's entrance, like acting like he was carrying stuff in. And so the bard, Deanne's character, Foomf, who's a Gripply or Tripkey or a Boggart are the two things, the frog people. She gets a nat 20 on her performance check. So to honor the nat 20, I made her basically bardic inspiration. It's Song of Courage in Pathfinder, I think. But I made that work for anyone inside of the house that she wanted to, so that because everyone's on different floors for the heist, I was like, everyone can hear this because the music's so loud.
That's
And so
so good, and it basically works like the movie soundtrack
yeah, and so I
emboldening
left it
them.
on. I left the music playing the rest of the night. I was going to have ambiance the whole time, but it was like one more fiddly bit I didn't want to deal with. And so it's one of the things I'm going to delegate now that we don't have a computer to do it all for us. But for the concert, I was like, no, no, this is going on, and so I put it on, and so it was very good montage. And Deanne would roll a natural 20, and so we're like, all right, this person's going to like love you, this is going to work. And then the charisma she would be using would be something like, hey, so what's up with that, just like the most direct thing. And I'm like, these people just love your directness and they just answer anyways because you got a freaking nat 20, and I have to honor this. And it was very good, very fun time.
Wonderful. I'm happy for you.
You know what else is a very good, very fun time? of the
Uh,
devil. So
you're right.
let's talk about this trial that we do this week.
Last time, we discovered Morgan has friends, though sadly, one less of them after the sudden death of famous programmer David Asher. His android daughter has asked us to prove that it wasn't a suicide, and now it's trial time. Or, more specifically, it is almost trial time. Once at the courthouse, which is basically a skyscraper that holds a lot of different government functions, not just the trials, Morgan starts trying to get as much last minute prep work done as she can, but Sarah has questions. Most pertinent concern the judge and the jury. Morgan explains that this meeting will have neither. A preliminary hearing doesn't need a jury, it's just a step before the trial even actually happens. Rather than a flesh and blood judge, our hearing is going to have an adjutant, a type of ad that is brought in to handle the running of most things in courthouses these days, for both speed and cost reasons, while the flesh and blood judges focus on bigger matters. The adjutants are made using a nonary system with 9 different personalities from across the political spectrum that have to create a consensus in their rulings to avoid them being biased. Somehow, I don't feel like we can trust the society we've seen in this game so far to say if these robo judges are biased or not.
Yeah, it seems like there's some stuff going on there that is not up to snuff. I think maybe this might be a dystopia, Trish. We might be playing one of those games.
I that's a pretty hefty charge to level. Let's think about this carefully.
Yeah, we'll have
Uh,
to run it by 9 robot judges to see if that charge is very good.
Morgan assures us that adjutants are usually very boring because of having to satisfy all of these things for all these different kind of worldviews. But that is the furthest thing from the truth in this case. Once we're in court and our adjutant, AD_84, aka 80, boots up, she asks the prosecution for an opening statement. And when Emma declines, she asks Morgan, who does the same. Rather than just continue on with the trial with no opening statement, 80 instead gives her own opening statement, which asks the question of why humans should accept the judgment of a machine. And her answer is simple: justice is beautiful. Thus, her smoking hot bod means that she is like totally qualified.
Oh, I loved her so much.
She's the best. I adore her.
Yeah, like
Uh,
filling the shoes of Ace Attorney Judge is hard to do, but I'll take this as a ability to do it.
mhm.
Similarly, completely just has no idea what's going on and is just following the lead of everybody around, but has different personality quirks, and it works very, very good.
And yet also those personality quirks make you feel like she is as incompetent as Ace Attorney Judge, but if you're
Mhm.
paying attention, she's actually much more competent.
Oh yeah,
It's just that she's a fucking goofball.
yeah.
Yeah. As I say in my notes, 80 is the rare adjunct who is, and I say this in the best possible meaning of the word, an overmoting drama queen. But like, hey, maybe that's what we need because our goal is to draw this trial out as long as possible while we wait for Sarah to finish decrypting that security footage from David's basement.
Mhm. I love with the opening statement part, because Morgan's whole thing is she just has to solve for time. She even thinks to herself, she's like, it will be too obvious if I make an opening statement in this sort of case. Like, no one needs this, so it would be stupid for somebody to do it. And then the judge does it anyways. It's very, very good.
Emma begins the trial proper by calling in Yumi Sato, the coroner we met last time, to the stand.
Mommy.
Do you call her mommy? Yeah. And there's a cute moment where Yumi and Sarah say hi to each other. It's adorable. Yumi testifies about her examination of the victim, how he died, all of that kind of stuff. And when Morgan starts trying to interrupt before it's her chance to do so, and without a proper objection, she is hit by 80 with a penalty, and that's how we learn how the blind works. Basically, the blind is our minimum bet, like in poker. It's how many chips we stand to lose or to gain with every decision we make. It naturally rises just as things get more intense, but it also goes up whenever you fail. Luckily, it
Mhm.
does reset between court days.
Yeah, like with how many, like in the tutorial case in episode 0, like you would get something wrong and you would lose 1 credit or whatever. And then in the investigation, I got up to like 90 credits. And I'm like, I get 90 turns. This is awesome. But after like the second question, your blind is at like 6. And so it takes 6 away every time you get it wrong. So it it
It
offset the
it's
richness I
six. It
felt
gets
moments ago.
higher because every
Yeah.
mistake makes it go up.
Yeah.
But the fun thing is because it also goes up, that means your reward for getting it correct
Mhm.
basically is not only going to nullify that hit you took, it's going to make it even bigger
Mhm.
to recover your losses more easily. It's
Yeah.
a really interesting balance mechanic.
Yeah. And it makes it more interesting than both Danganronpa and Ace Attorney, where you just have a life meter that is so video gamey and it doesn't really make sense to, not that like any of the poker shit makes sense. It's very video gamey here. But that one is just like, oh, I can mess up like 6 times. And so the random time where it'll be like, it's all riding on this one. You have to get it right, but then you get it wrong and it just takes you back to right before the question anyways. Like it
Yeah.
just never felt like it would, like it mattered. But this one, because of all of that, there were definite times where I threw up a quick save because I was like, shit, I can't take this hit. I don't know. And it was very fun.
hmm
Because I'm not
From
playing
here,
on high roller mode, so I can make quick saves. Hell yeah.
oh gosh, playing at high roller mode is so good. Not just because you get a keychain of Reyes in a bunny girl outfit for winning the case on it, which is worth it. Especially imagining Morgan having that on her phone while she's talking to Reyes.
Oh, so good.
From here, we get our first chance to actually interrupt the testimony with an objection. And this works a little like a cross between Ace Attorney and Danganronpa. Like
Mhm.
in our classic attorney games, our witness has a series of statements that we're going to be going through as much as we like, looking for a contradiction, which we then object to using evidence. But, like in Danganronpa, we don't have to pick between the entire court record. We're given a choice between a few potential pieces of evidence. So the game narrows it down for us. And the testimony goes on automatically. And if you
Mhm.
miss your shot, you're going to just have to wait for it to repeat again. You can speed it up, but still, you can't just go back and forth. There's
Yeah.
also a timing element to calling with the right evidence that so you can't just be like, "Oh, I found the right spot. Let me hang out here for 5 minutes while I go over my options."
Thankfully, you don't increase your blind for it going through, because there were several times where I'm like, this is the thing that's wrong. What do I have in my hand again? And then it would reset, and I was like, oh, I was there. I just wasn't fast enough on the like choosing the truth bullet.
Yeah. Well, there's also a point between, like in Ace Attorney, there's a bit where you finish going through the testimony, and then there's that bit where the character, like Morgan and Sarah, will talk about it a little bit, and in
Mhm.
that window you can look at your evidence and look at it in a more detailed way to get
Mhm.
refresh yourself. Um, but yeah, our first objection is obvious, but it's also just kind of a nitpick, which Morgan doesn't even try to deny. Yumi says in her testimony that the initial talk screen the hospital did came back clean, but of course it wasn't clean. The witness was drinking whiskey. That doesn't seem to actually mean anything, but hey, it's a first easy contradiction for us, and also a sign of just how little room Morgan has to get her job done this time around. There's
Mhm.
not a lot to play with here. From there, Yumi starts testifying about the toxin that she found, which they are blaming for David's respiratory failure. 80 doesn't like that so far it's just being called an unknown drug or an unknown compound, so she elects to name it, and then there's some silly banter, and they end up calling it Delta.
Mhm.
More to the point, Yumi feels confident that David had to have ingested the poison. There's no sign of it being inhaled or injected. Now it's our turn to cross examine Yumi, which brings us to a new gameplay mechanic Blackjack.
Blackjack.
I love this so much. We start by listing everything that Yumi has already shared, which are represented as playing cards, building up to our starting total. We need
Mhm.
to ask questions and press when appropriate to draw out new information that is actually helpful to our case, slowly raising that total until we hit 21. But if we make a mistake, we get a high card and go bust. Some people
Mhm.
find this difficult to understand as a mechanic, which I do get because there isn't really anything like it in this game's influenced precursors. Yes, yes, I know about logic chess, but that isn't exactly the same and it's not pertinent.
I thought of it as making the press mechanic from Ace Attorney fucking mean anything, because
Yes,
even
exactly.
all of the times where the judge is like, "Don't waste my time. This is the one thing you got." You press on every statement because you can't get it wrong, and that's just how
Except for
you
the
get.
times when you can get a game over just from pressing the wrong thing. There have been times, but it's rare.
Yeah, but it's super rare. This one is like, okay, I need to, because every you can ask every question and you'll get like one card added to it, and then you can press for more on that question. And so sometimes you might need the answer for the first from the first question, but if you just press more, you waste people's time and you go bust. So like it's not just which questions do you ask and which do you press on. It's just like, oh, I guess it is that, and it's not just you ask and press. Might ask and not press, or you might do both, or whatever, and it's very
Yeah,
cool.
exactly. There's time for even asking the question is going to be bad for your case. This isn't
Mhm.
about pressing everything, because pressing everything means that the witness might say things that are bad for your case. This
Yeah.
is actually what I find so fun about this mechanic is it plays into a little more about real life trial law and the idea that
Mhm.
like if you're the defense cross examining the prosecution's witness, you don't want to ask questions that you know will just cause them to say stuff that harms you. You
Yeah.
need to push your questions in a direction that the prosecution doesn't want.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think this whole mechanic is a really good job of explaining a whole aspect of the legal process that gets skipped over in other games.
Yeah.
Now, the route forward is that you need to interrogate how confident we can be that Delta is actually the cause of death. Namely, like, probably, like, like a solid, like, 85 to 90% sure. And then we grill Yumi on how confident she is that it was ingested, or more specifically, knowingly ingested, which she can't actually say for sure. It's not exactly a huge win, but it does create some wiggle room, which does help our case, which is awesome. But then next up at stand is Detective Reyes, who is way more professional in court than Morgan was anticipating. Reyes runs through a timeline of events as can best be corroborated by the witness's testimony and by the security camera feed. The witness arrived at 7:30, talked with David for half an hour, then David left the dining room to go into the basement and retrieve the whiskey and cups, returned, they drank, David collapsed, no trace of Delta in the whiskey bottle or the witness's cup. David's the one who got the cups. David's the one who prepared the drinks, so clearly he has to be the one who poisoned his own cup.
Mhm.
We're able to get in a dig against this version of events by pointing out that we don't actually know that David's cup was poisoned. The tests that were run on it were inconclusive. But, like, how else would the guy have gotten poisoned? The funny thing there, though, the burden of proof is on the prosecution, not on us.
Yeah.
So we could bring up stuff like that and not actually have to answer our own questions. Now it's our turn to cross examine the witness, and unlike Yumi, Reyes is not our friend. She is going to be difficult. So we really need to be more careful in what you ask her here. She will use any opportunity you give her to screw over our case. The areas to win points against the prosecution here come from getting the detective to admit that we don't have any evidence that David poisoned his own cup, and more importantly, they never found traces of Delta anywhere in the apartment. And isn't that odd? Like, how could David have poisoned himself without procuring poison? Shouldn't there be a container somewhere? It
Mhm.
starts to feel like maybe we're on a roll. Maybe we finally found the huge glaring flaw in the prosecution's case, but it turns out the only place we're heading is Pain City, because Emma is happy to answer this question. David got the Delta from the manufacturer in his lab. Not only is it capable of doing the deed, Delta's one of its presets. It can be easily accessed with one button press in 2 minutes. At this point, we stop to make a timeline of events as the prosecution believes them, and unfortunately, there's nothing in there we can really disprove. 80 is ready to rule on this case, and Sarah is still nowhere near done with her encrypting. Morgan has to do something, so she goes for the only option she has left: motive. The prosecution has shown that the victim had the means and the opportunity, but why exactly would he kill himself? Emma tries to say that isn't necessary. This is a preliminary hearing, but Morgan pushes forward, feeling she has a weakness here. Maybe this is where she can really get Emma. But it turns out Emma is saying that because she didn't want to drag all of this into the open. The prosecution prevents a phone call between David and his now ex-boyfriend Isaac Porter, and we get to listen to it in its entirety. It is fucking devastating.
Yeah, I'm in incredibly David.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
from
it's hard not to.
our reads from last week, he literally truly had no idea what was the matter, and he was trying to fix it, but Isaac was just too hurt, and they were just talking past each other, and it was devastating.
It's so devastating. It's like we had Isaac's read on it and what he got out of the conversation, but when you hear it, it's like, no, he just is really busy, and he has the object permanence problem of like, if you're not physically around, he kind of forgets about like that he needs to be doing things to keep in contact with you.
Mhm.
It's not he likes you a lot, Isaac.
He
No.
he really does. But unfortunately, everyone in the courtroom can tell that David liked him a lot. So getting dumped when he likes him a lot is a bad look for us.
It really is, especially because after the call ended, the phone still recorded for a few seconds, for quality assurance purposes, of course, and caught David saying out loud, promising himself that this was the last time he would ever let anyone down, which is also a really bad look for us. This has bummed out the whole courtroom, but Morgan's more than just sad. She's furious because all she can read in Emma's face and voice and actions is pity. And Evangeline Morgan is not a woman that anyone should pity. Before the adjutant could call for this case to end, Morgan speaks up, saying that not only does she want to keep going, but she has her own witness to call, a perfect, silver bullet witness who will shake this case down to its foundations. It is, of course, hetero Jessica. Uh, Jess is very nervous on the stand, but that's fine. In fact, it's actually kind of good for us. We're trying to run out the clock to get to that secret footage and hope that whatever's in there will win us this case. Morgan asked Jess to testify on if David ever felt threatened, if anyone ever showed an interest in hurting him. We've already gotten a taste for just how many people had not normal feelings about David thanks to his work, but Jess goes into detail on his many stalkers and enemies, even as she also tries to downplay them a little. The worst examples all got sent to the police, and Emma tries to claim that the police, of course, seriously investigated and vetted every single threat of harassment, which just makes Morgan laugh. I wonder why.
Mhm.
More to the point, Morgan grills Jess on if David ever showed any signs of mental instability, of depression or anxiety, of suicidal thoughts, and Jess makes it clear that she can't say that any of that sounds like David. That proves to be a poor move, since Emma is happy to jump in with evidence that David has been seeing a psychiatrist in secret for a while. There's something strange about that evidence, though. The insurance used for the visits isn't the same one that was used at the hospital, the one they got through his work. Morgan tries to use that as evidence that these visits and calls are fake, that it's all corporate misinformation, that Emma's been fooled. But Emma thinks Morgan just can't accept that she didn't know her friend was seeing a therapist. Just wonders at this point if we, still need her, but she should not be interrupting when girls are fighting.
No.
And obviously, we do still need her here, because Sarah's still not done. We have to think of something else to ask her.
Before we move on from this transcript with the therapist, though, so I thought Morgan was going to bring it up, but it might come up later, and so if I should just need to read the fucking card, basically, you can tell me so. But they make a point during the phone call that we get from with Isaac that they record all of the calls and they played it back auditorily so we could hear it, but the ones from the therapist were a transcript, which means, like, for me, made it obviously fake. And I thought that was the thing I was going to jump on them for, but then it was just it was the thing about the insurance. So I don't know if that comes back up for anything, but it was cool, at least in a world building sense, that there was some fishiness there.
We'll have to find out later. I'm not going to tell
Okay.
you anything on that front. Yeah, so we've got to ask just something to testify about. So we ask her about the last time she was in contact with David. That's easy for Jess to talk about. They chatted for a few hours before he died. This came up earlier, like way back at the beginning of the case. David had reached out to Jess so they could coordinate bringing Morgan over so she could take ownership of Sarah, something he was planning to happen that next Tuesday, since he never did anything on Mondays. Not only that, but it seemed pretty clear that David was expecting to be present for all of it, since without him, they had to do all that bullshit scavenger hunt stuff just to get to Sarah. Oh, and that whole conversation with Jess that night, it took place between David's breakup call with Isaac and his meeting with Helen Young. Why exactly would a man planning suicide also set up an important event like that? Doesn't this speak against the prosecution's theory about his state of mind? For the first time all trial, we have actually got Emma knocked off balance. She did not know about any of this, and there is no good explanation on hand that would explain the contradiction with her theory. But just as Morgan is starting to capitalize on this windfall, Sarah keeps trying to interrupt her and pestering her until finally Morgan's like, okay, what is it? But yeah, it's important to pay attention to Sarah because she's finished decrypting the files finally. And it's kind of worth losing all of our momentum on this point if we can present this to the court, because either this saves our case or we're fucked. There's no middle ground.
Yeah. Like Morgan had said at the end of last week, she was like, he's on camera for all of the time. These 4 minutes are where the only place there's wiggle room. So these 4 minutes are where the truth is. So if we got to just see what happens on it, and we get to see what happens on it.
Indeed. At first, everyone starts scrutinizing the footage via how much time it would leave David if it would give him enough time to head up to his lab and use the manufacturer to create the poison. But then Morgan notices something about when he comes down to the basement for the whiskey. He doesn't grab any cups. No, actually, it's Sarah who grabs the cups and then calls David back to give to him. And there isn't enough time after that for David to poison them himself. Good news! We have pretty solidly proved this isn't a suicide.
Hell yeah.
Bad news! We have implicated Sarah as the killer instead, which
Oh,
is
no.
bad for a lot of reasons. The biggest of which being, everyone is now immediately assuming that she's not an ad at all. She's an AI. Sarah responds to this with, a panic attack? I think pretty justifiably. She doesn't remember even being awake that day. She doesn't remember anything in that footage. She starts sobbing and begging Morgan for help, and only stops when Morgan uses her privilege as Sarah's owner to force a shutdown.
Pretty handily showing that she is an ad and not an AI. IMO, but whatever. The corrupt court can do corrupt court things. That's fine.
In the wake of all this, Emma orders the courtroom to be cleared of observers and then drops the suicide charge. A real flesh and blood judge, Judge Barrows, is brought in because of how serious this all is. Everyone starts talking about how they're going to need to smash Sarah and then incinerate all of her pieces at such a high temperature that nothing will survive, and they're going to have to do basically the same thing to any system she's had any connection to. Morgan, meanwhile, can't stop looking at this sleeping android and feeling sympathy for her. Sarah never asked to be made as she is. She didn't ask to be made at all. She was just trying to fit in, to be more human-like, as if just by watching movies and copying mannerisms, she could fake a humanity that came naturally to everyone else.
And then we see the little girl that we saw from behind that we assumed was Sarah watching movies. We see it from the front, and it has red hair and freckles. It wasn't Sarah. The person who watched movies to learn how to mask was Morgan.
And not only that, when we also get enough detail to see the thing, the movie that she's watching, and there's an actress on screen who is doing a pose and a facial expression that we would recognize as one that Morgan does all the time. It's one of her standard poses. In the dark, with no advantage to herself, we have the option to call the prosecution's bluff and fight for Sarah.
I love ludonarrative consonants, and the fact that she didn't say anything, it didn't do anything, the UI just popped up, and that shit gets me every time. It got me in Scarlet and Violet, it gets me in Undertale, it got me in Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Every time they do that shit, I weep uncontrollably. It is so good.
This scene makes me cry so much because we're gonna want to talk about this later, I'm sure. The level to which this ties Morgan and Sarah together and their experiences and their point of views is so fascinating.
Especially because in Trish's summary of events, where she was saying the subtext that was going on, where obviously it wants us to pick up on the subtext by showing us baby Morgan and stuff like that. But the words that Morgan are saying is, well, shit, you were a really cool, really expensive ad, but like you you're going to be burned, and that really sucks. It was going to be cool to have a thing to remember David by, but whatever. And does not turn around on saying that this is like, I feel sorry for Sarah, I'm going to save her, until it goes to a black screen, and then we get to initiate Morgan's face turn, and it's so fucking cool.
It's so cool. I do want to specifically say she does specifically have a moment where because she's been thinking of Sarah calling her Spearmint as a silly nickname,
Mhm.
but also kind of trivializing her with it. And there's a moment before that happens where she goes,
Mhm.
"No, not Spearmint, Sarah. David gave you that name. I should be using it."
Yeah.
And specifically, well, even before that moment of the call, she thinks something along the lines of like, "I mean, it's not your fault. You didn't ask to be made this way.
Mhm.
This is just how you are. You just never had a chance." And it's
Yeah.
like, fascinating.
So good.
Uh, Emma does not understand why Morgan is doing this, but Morgan invents a selfish explanation. Sarah is her property. She's worth so much money, and therefore she has the right to fight the state to protect her financial investment. Not only that, we have ownership papers that prove that Sarah belonged to her even before David's death. So she could be legally liable if Sarah is found to have killed David. It takes a lot of arguing, but Morgan is allowed one more day in court. One day to defend herself, to prove Sarah didn't kill her creator, that she isn't an AI. And if she loses, Morgan is going to pay for it severely for wasting the state's time and undermining its authority. She will get no appeals, no experts, no stalling. Eventually, we're left with just Morgan and Emma in the courtroom. And Emma admits that she's surprised. She had underestimated Morgan. Morgan's actually the real deal. Emma kind of pegged her as just a small time lawyer treading water, but Morgan's just signed up for 15 rounds against the state with huge stakes. It's impressive, and Emma doesn't really know what to make of it. Which is fair, because Morgan herself doesn't seem to know why she's even doing it. But if she has to give a real reason, she thinks it's all the moralizing, the witch hunt of it all, the readiness to claim AI are evil by nature, that they're even capable of evil as machines. Sure thing, Morgan. Keep telling yourself that. Next time, we will finish this case and, with luck, prove our favorite robot girl is innocent of murder.
If we're extra lucky, we can have Morgan and Emma kiss, but we don't know if that'll
Oh,
happen yet.
I mean, Emma called this a date. I don't know if it was a date that went well.
Right?
But for now, our memorable moments.
So through the episode 0, I think I had said that this was like straight up just copying Attorney's homework, and for the most part that's not wrong, but it does seem to be a secret third flavor of whatever micro genre you call Ace Attorney and Danganronpa and now of the Devil. Like, it's doing enough of its own things where it is closer to an Ace Attorney style, but it is not just doing Ace Attorney stuff anymore, and I think that's very cool.
Agreed. I love that it has its own mechanics. It has its own things it brings in, and as part of that, I appreciate that. I love that the whole blackjack mechanic is a way to be like, no, this is our time to question these witnesses, and not in a kind of superfluous way we do in Ace Attorney, where the pressing,
Mhm.
like, it's all. Let's be honest here. In Ace Attorney, like, it's all about the objections. The
Mhm.
hold-its are sometimes useful narratively, but they're not what get your blood pumping. They're not like why you're here.
Mhm.
Blackjack takes that as its own whole separate mechanic and makes it this like puzzle of like, how do I worm my way through this conversation without fucking myself over?
Mhm.
In general, there's a lot to this. Hell, just the fact that she called a witness is something that never happens in Ace Attorney.
Yeah, like in Attorney, the quote unquote gameplay part of it always feels, because Ace Attorney started as a Japanese adventure game where the point is you're supposed to ask every question and eventually one of them will change and you can move on. That's how Japanese adventure games have always worked. Check out the JRPG canon in 2 episodes from now of when it records, because we'll be playing Portopia Serial Murder Case and you'll be able to see that in depth. But in Ace Attorney, didn't feel like gameplay, even though like you would get things wrong sometimes, because it would rewind you back to like the last checkpoint, which was almost always the part right before you do all the objections. So it kind of never mattered, and you just asked all the things. But this one feels like gameplay. I was like looking at my blind, I was trying to figure out the cards, like I was playing a game in this moment, in a way that like Danganronpa I play too much of a game. This one I play just the right amount of game, and it was very, very cool.
The fact the theming is so consistent is very good at getting you in Morgan's mindset
Mhm.
for, because like Phoenix is too much of a like, I don't want to call him a Clark Kent because that feels, I love Phoenix, but it's too complimentary. But sort
Yeah.
of like he's very, there's very little subterfuge. It's noticeable whenever Phoenix has any subterfuge happening. He's
Yeah.
kind of a dope. Morgan is the opposite of a dope. She is like everything she is doing is planned, is, as we find out in this case, being a human fitting in with other people is something she had to learn and put effort into.
Mhm.
And so there is always an element of artifice to what she's doing here. And so what we are doing in these sections is all about not just bluffing in a generic sense, but like literally gambling bluffing.
Mhm. It's so
So I
cool.
love all that. Also, I love so much. We talked about a little bit, but 80 is the best. She's
She's
so
so good.
good.
She's so good.
I
Uh,
need to find really quick. She not only is just very silly and fun. She's actually based. We were talking about like her comparing her to the judge from Ace Attorney. There's another character she's very clearly based off of from our other big inspiration. Namely, she's based a lot on Junko Enoshima, with the way that she has these
mhm.
rapidly different like personas that she is switching between, that all have very different, like every emotion she feels is to the 11 out of 10, and she
Mhm.
switches between them with a heavy emphasis every time she does. But she's more fun and silly than
Yeah.
terrifying, though she does have moments of being kind of terrifying when she wants to be
Yeah.
serious. You're like, oh wait, I forgot she's in control of this trial. And she will happily remind me that she's in control of this trial.
Yeah. I brought this up a little last week, speaking of 80 being such a character. Like, this game now is doing the thing that was it was talking about how Noble wants to humanize the AIs while also or the ADs, while also proving that they're not sentient and proving that they're not actually people, for all of those things. And now that's the defense that Morgan has to take, is like, no, Sarah deserves justice because she's a human being, but also she's not a human being and I can prove it. And I think that was a cool thematic foreshadowing that, like, it was off in its own way, and like I had to put things together to arrive at it here while we were talking about it. And I don't think I would have if we weren't talking about our memorable moments. It wasn't one I wrote down, it was just something I had put back together while we were talking. And it like harkening back to that other thing is cool. And like, no offense to most video games, but like they don't do theme like that. that's not
Mm-hmm.
that's not a thing that video games usually do, and it's cool.
Agreed. Oh gosh, I'm just so excited for next week and all we can talk about without spoiling too much. Yeah, you're right. We're having to go in with the mindset of we're protecting Sarah, a person who we care about and who matters to us. But then in the back of, but what we're saying to the court has to be, huh? She's a robot. What are you, silly? She's just a
Hmm.
toaster.
Yeah.
Because if we humanize her, even if we prove her innocent of murder, that doesn't matter if she is a person.
Yeah, because like the moment Sarah showed up and like didn't respond to basic ad commands, it was obvious. Like, oh, Sarah's a person, and this is going to be oh, what's the Data episode? Man of something, mind of something.
Mhm.
the episode where Data's on trial. It felt like it was
Yeah,
going
yeah.
to
Oh, Measure of a Man. Yeah.
Measure of a Man. That's the one. It felt like it was going to be a Measure of a Man, which like just because Star Trek did it first doesn't mean it's not fertile ground. And every time a cyberpunk story is dips into it, I'm like, hell yeah, this is good shit. Give me more. And so, despite it being a trope I had seen before, I was like fine with that being the trope. But it's now like a different flavor of that. And I don't think in any like I eat cyberpunk shit up. I still haven't played Cyberpunk 2077 because there's boobies in it and I have little children, so I have very little time to play that game. But in most cyberpunk things, it's like obvious because it's like an allegory for racism or LGBT or whatever, depending on the game. And so they're like, oh no, these are people, and it does matter. But here it's like both. So it's like it's not a clean racism analogy because if it was, we want like it doesn't fit perfectly, and so it's like
Yeah.
telling its own moral without just like pointing at racism and saying racism bad, which is all the others boil down to. And like I said, it's the good shit. I eat it all up, but this one is a new flavor. It's like the good shit now comes out with like a new logo on the packaging, and now I get to see what's in the new one, what they changed in the recipe, and I'm very
Mhm.
excited.
I think I've talked about this previously, but I want to go into it more here, and I'll probably want to talk to it even more next time. But this is not canon stuff. This is my reading of the situation. But
Hmm.
like, I find it fascinating because so 80 is also interesting because while we've had desks before, there was a smart UI we talked to on the phone at one point, and then we had Officer Leo at the start of this one. 80 is the first ad that we spend a lot of time with.
Hmm.
We are who is an ad by all the definitions they use, by all the things. She is lifelike, she's intelligent, but she's not like they don't see her as quite a person. But like, I'm sorry, I spent some time with this bitch. She is a person. I don't
Yeah.
care if you can turn her off and on. She's a person.
Yeah. I mean, I can turn people off and on. I just need chemicals to do it.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
yeah, I just need sleeping gas. Look, I turned the person off. I did it.
Yeah, she is so fascinating, and I love that like the little biographies we get of different characters. Hers always include weird things where it's like, oh, she likes raw salmon and running water and gymnastics. It's like she is a stationary. She's either a digital being or then she's loaded into one of these bodies, and that body doesn't move. It doesn't. They have to haul it in and set it up there. Like she doesn't get to do any of these things, and yet she still has these preferences and things that she likes and doesn't like. She has self-assigned herself a Libra, which probably means something if you know anything about astrology, but I don't.
Trisha's the wrong kind of trans for astrology.
No, I'm the opposite kind of trans. I'm the kind of trans who goes, "Don't talk to me about astrology." Also, speaking of being trans and a lesbian,
Mhm.
80 is also over 8 feet tall, and we get her 3 sizes as part of her character profile, and they are 109, 64, 94 in centimeters. She has over a meter of bust.
Hell yeah.
My God.
We stand.
We stand, and like, I'm here for this woman. I'm so here for this woman. She could do no wrong. Gosh, yeah. What else do I have here in my notes? I really like Morgan's attitude on, like, she spent so much of this case feeling this trial day feeling so frustrated by how hemmed in she is, like how little she has to work with. And then when she finally has that moment of like, wait a minute, I'm being fucking pitied? Emma, you're pitying me? Go
Yeah.
to hell. It's
Yeah.
just
It's
like
very
I
good.
it's just such a like vindictive fuck you attitude. Gosh, what else here? I mean, yeah, the Morgan Sarah stuff with the watching TV and seeing that like, oh, Morgan also used to watch movies all the time to try to be more human is the
Mhm.
most autistic mood I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's also just it's so interesting in the way that if you remember from last week, there was that part where Sarah is talking to Morgan about the Heartbreak Killer and about serial killers. And Morgan's attitude is very much like, listen, they're just murderers. They don't matter. They're like, they'll get caught and sentenced and executed, and that's all we need to care about. Like, we don't need to think about them. And it's like, on some level, it does feel like, like this is a thing you have to say to be pretending to be a normal person. But also, it feels like, I don't know. I feel like it is a little, at least a little bit of a reflection of how little Morgan does think of what she does and what she is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she sees herself, the way that she describes Sarah in that moment in the dark, that is also her describing herself. And it is so self-pitying. And it is so like, wow, you really thought you could grow, like you could make yourself pass as a human being? Like, what? That's so pathetic of you that you thought you could do that. And it's just like, Morgan, girl, I'd say go to therapy, but I don't think you'd do therapy.
No.
It's fucking it's fucking good. It reminds me truly of like some of the best Ace Attorney moments in that same way.
Yeah.
Of that, like, oh shit, huge reveal. Things like, I guess the thing that immediately makes me think of is in Dual Destinies, with it being like, wait a minute, is the killer?
I'm
Like when
not that
Apollo
far, so
comes. Wait, what? I thought you said you've done that one. You just hadn't done Spirit of Justice.
no, I am on that one. I haven't.
Oh. Well, I don't
Yeah.
remember when. God damn it! God
Yeah,
damn it!
I am still
Snap my
on the
fingers.
first not tutorial case. The one
Okay.
with the Tokusatsu.
Oh, with the
No,
with the
not
wrestler.
Tokusatsu, the wrestler. Yeah.
Okay, that one's a fun one. I do like that one.
Yeah.
Even if I think that the killer's kind of boring.
Yeah. The reason I'm barely making it through is a lot of the key characters are boring, and a lot of the not key characters I wish I was talking to. And so every time I load it up, it's like, oh yeah, this guy. Let me just get through this
I
for a
like
bit.
Trucy's friend.
Yeah, I like her a lot. I don't like the her dad or whatever.
Yeah,
The
her dad's kind of boring. Yeah,
our defendant.
defendant. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, this is the
this
good
is
shit.
really good. This is the good
This
shit, and
I
we still got the last bit. Who do you
yeah.
think? Okay, I gotta ask. Do you have a prediction? Who is the real killer?
Young is too obvious. So I don't think it's actually her.
Okay,
Or if it is her, it's obvious, but in a they'll do like a double switcheroo combo bob.
great description.
Yeah. Otherwise, I kind of don't know.
Great.
The only person who like at this point could theoretically do it is Young, but the whole point is we have another investigation where I'll be able to piece some things together. And so, as it is right now, that's who I'm guessing, but we'll have to see what evidence we find next week.
Oh, one other thing I do want to say in the because again, this game does have a lot of interesting parallels to Turnabout Sisters, the second case of the first Ace Attorney game.
Mhm.
And in those like parallels, Jess Starling is kind of our April May as the, oh, like she's gives off an airhead vibe, and she's a secretary or a personal
Mhm.
assistant sort of person to someone who's an important person. And it's like she fits a lot of them superficially, and she even has a lot of like, Jess Starling is an April May written by someone who respects women.
Yeah.
Because it's
Definitely.
like, yeah, she gives off an airhead vibe. She does that kind of purposefully, and she comes off as stupid. And maybe she's not the smartest, but she's not dumb either. And
Yeah.
she's a good person, or at least seems to be so far.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. She's really cute.
Yeah. Love hetero Jessica.
Someone needs to make her not hetero.
I was about to say hetero Jessica is the only lesbian I have a shot with in this game, so I love her a lot.
I'm so excited for next week. But before that, I think you gotta talk about people who support this show.
That's right. If you like what we talked about this week, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where any and all donations will help us offset the cost of running the show. If you decide to donate $1 or more a month, you'll become one of our gadabouts and also get access to our bonus feed filled with after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show, such as Tales of Podcastia and the Escape Pod. If you up your donation to $5 or more each month, you can become one of our warriors and get your name read at the end of every episode, a little like this. Shouts to Dragon Slayer 19, Freddie Rodriguez, and J Fro Prime. And then if you really, really love us and you want to be one of our luminaries, you can donate $20 or more a month and get a short one-sentence shout out or advert right at the end of each episode, kind of like this. Shout outs to El Tantifi, who wants you to check out aftermath.site, a worker-owned reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shout outs to Kale who wants you to check out Podcasters Assemble. It's a documentary style, crowdsourced movie hype and rewatch podcast. Every season, podcasters from around the world are assembled to review, reminisce, and riff on a popular franchise. And then shouts to Vimk, who says, I'm no fiscal use to her here. And then shoutouts to It's Clear Time, who says, for you TTRPG nerds, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game, I just think it's neat. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye-bye.